welcome to another. I gotta think of something better to say because I always say the same thing. Welcome to another exciting edition of Ergo Pulse, and here's my buddy Joe, and he does Ergo stuff. Anyway. Okay, let's try one more time, and maybe you guys can tell me if there's a better way to start this thing off. So, welcome to another exciting edition of Ergo Pulse. I am your man Dan in Japan, and with me I have none other than Joe Armenio of the Ergo Foundation. Say hi to everybody, Joe.
Nice to be here. Excited for this episode.
Yeah, absolutely. So am I. I get to meet the man whose name I have not been able to say for practically a year now, because I have been officially working with the project for almost a year, and for this entire time, my friend AggerGakker,
Jesper is much easier.
Vespa works.
Vespa, like the scooter?
Jesper, like Jasper, but with an E.
Oh, Jasper. Okay. Sorry. It's I'm old. My hearing is bad. So listen. Okay, once and for all, please tell me how to pronounce your screen name.
Yeah, you got it once right. I think on the live stream, it's in Danish. You would say AggerGakker.
AggerGakker. Oh, okay. AggerGakker. You know, I have some Swedish friends, and what they tell me is Danish sounds like Swedish with somebody with a hot potato in their mouth. Is that true?
I think that's. I think people from Iceland and people from Norway and especially people from Finland would say the same. We have like more throat sounds, and it's more like a monotone way of speaking compared to Swedish and Norwegian that has kind of like a singing thing to it.
Oh,
like
right.
tonality to it.
All right. Okay. Well, I'm glad that. So AggerGakker or AggerGakker?
Call me Jesper or Agger, whichever is
okay.
easier.
I'll call you Jesper. Well, listen, it's great to have you with us. You are a really well-known and highly respected member of the community.
I am.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Hold on, let me check my notes.
Oh yeah.
Well-known and infamous. So it says that you're infamous. So you're so famous that you're infamous.
More than famous. More than
famous. That's it. You're more than famous. You're famous in the community. All right.
Yes.
Well, so first of all, GuapSwap, right? So GuapSwap, a well-known project in the community. So what we do on the show is we highlight these projects in the Ergo community. And of course, people inside the Ergo community know about these projects, right? But we have a lot more people coming in right now, a lot more new people joining the ecosystem. And we would really like for this show to be a tool for them to really get a good understanding of what is going on in the ecosystem. So why don't you explain GuapSwap to us? Let's start with that, because I know you have several things we'd like to talk about. We will talk about them. Aside from GuapSwap mining, other things, we'll get to them. Let's start with GuapSwap. What is it? How did you come across? How did you come to create it? And so then we'll talk a little bit about your vision for the project.
Okay, so GuapSwap is an open source miner profit swapper. So you can get paid out in any native tokens on the Ergo blockchain. And it works through the smart contracts on the Ergo blockchain. And basically it came about because when I started figuring out that ETH wouldn't be a thing forever, I started researching the other blockchains, the other altcoins, and I came across Ergo. And the tax jurisdiction I'm in Denmark is notoriously ancient and bureaucratic. So getting into DeFi, for example, each time you make a swap, they tax it as new income. So and income tax here is 40 to 50%. So if you want to get into DeFi, you take your ERG, you swap it to SIG USD, for example, and then you're left with half of the swapped amount, right? So my point was like, okay, could I not just get paid out in the token I want? And I tried some of the other things on the ETH blockchain, right? I tried on Mineable, and what's the other one called? There's another hash rate rental thing. But basically, they are very unmineable, for example. They say they pay you out like, they say they charge a little fee, but you're getting like, my calculations is like 25 to 30% less of what you should be earning. And when I started learning about smart contracts on Ergo, it's like, okay, you have to be able to do something where you just interact directly with the DEX or a DEX and then get your payout how you want it. And I think there was a Discord post. We have it. We're thinking about minting it as an NFT. But like back in November of 2021, I kind of formulated the thought. It says, I want to make this. And then I participated in the first cohort of DeCo and hooked up with the other guys from the team, LGD and Salvarez, who are the two other core members of the team. And we participated in ErgoHack 3, I think, and got like an honorable mention. And we wanted to do the first mainnet swap during ErgoHack 3. We were just a few days late. But it's now a thing, like an open source thing you run on your computer. And then you can get your miner payouts in Sigma USD or ErgoPad or Nether, whatever you want.
Awesome.
Oh, that is pretty awesome. Yeah. So, well, Joe, what are your thoughts on GuapSwap? Because of course you've been here much longer than I have. You've seen this project come about. What are your thoughts?
Well, my first thought was why GuapSwap? I've heard like que guapo, in Spanish, like handsome. But I was wondering why the name. How did that come?
I think, well, our LGD, our developer, he listens to hip hop music, and guap is a unit in hip hop music for a fat stack of cash. And we were like, yeah, we're swapping fat stacks of cash. And then it was like, why not call it GuapSwap? It rhymes and it has an interesting reference to hip hop culture, which is both he and I are into. And we're like, yeah, I mean, it's a good a name as any, I guess.
And so you started with DeCo. Those of you that, could you explain what that is for people that aren't familiar?
So DeCo is basically the first teaching initiative on in regards to ErgoScript and learning about the extended UTXO and how the Ergo blockchain works. And it's like a decentralized thing. So it's basically just community members that came together. Keith and Chris from ErgoLend are the ones who run it at this point. And so Keith started to teach the first classes, and then later on they took on community members to become teachers. And if you look in the videos on the YouTube channel, you'll see me teaching the layman's course of about EUTXO and stuff. And now I've passed the torch on to someone else. So it's a really cool community initiative, and I cannot recommend the curriculum and the people who are doing it enough. So all the new people who want to get into Ergo, who want to learn to develop and whatever, this layman's course and then an advanced course where you can learn the basics or learn to code, and it's still completely free. So if you want to get in, now's definitely the time.
Awesome. I love seeing that initiative. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that is pretty awesome. As I always say, education is a great entry point into a blockchain ecosystem, and so it's really cool that you guys have this going. I hope to add to this at some point soon, but yeah, it's definitely awesome that you guys were so hands-on about this. So okay, so now that we understand what it is, right? And it is very important, because well, as we all know, regulatory environments for crypto are just like the ocean. You don't know what it's going to do. It might be calm, it might be stormy, it might be the Bermuda Triangle, and basically that's what a lot of regulations are, is the Bermuda Triangle of money being kept by governments. So
Yeah, for sure.
this is really cool. This is really cool. And so now that we understand what it is, right? Where do you see it going? What is your, I don't want to say roadmap, but what is your vision for GuapSwap? Where would you like it to go? Is it something, because it's open source, would you like somebody else to maybe make an implementation of it for a specific use case? I mean, just kind of give us a little bit of the vision from here on going forward.
So basically, this was kind of, initially it was my idea to kind of, I usually say that my motto is I just want to be useful, right? I just want to be useful to the community. I don't want the project that is Ergo, I want it to succeed. So it's kind of like, okay, what can I do that can benefit myself, but also make like Ergo attractive for miners? And one of the things that I thought about for myself is like, okay, I want to be able to get paid in any token I want. So that was the first thing, and we've got that up and running, and people can go to GitHub and just, it's a command line interface at present, but we're working on making like a GUI, a graphical interface, and maybe also getting it to run in like HiveOS. So basically making it as user-friendly as possible so everyone can use it. And then the next thing we've been talking about is making, so when GetBlock introduced the Nether pool, where you can mine Ergo and get paid in Nether, there was actually some people who tried to, because obviously they wanted, you got like in some extra percentages of Nether, and they wanted to swap that directly into Erg, and they tried to use GuapSwap for that. But the current implementation of GuapSwap only takes Erg to a token.
Mhm.
So the obvious next step would be to be able to mine tokens on the subpools like Nether, ErgoPad, even Comet, if people want to, like they say, like waste energy and get paid in Comet. They could get paid in any token, so like any token swaps. And we've been talking about that, but for that to be a thing, that would be require like an implementation of Babel fees.
Mhm.
And Babel fees are basically like, if you know Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, they put this Babel fish, this little creature in your ear, and it can translate from any language to any language and make you fluent in any language. That's basically what Babel fees does, but with tokens. So you could pay a minor transaction fee with Sigma USD, or you could this person on the Nether pool, he could get paid in Nether, but have the payout come out in ErgoPad or whatever. So it's kind of like this intermediary. But obviously we need the EIP to be finished and the final technical implementation of it. And of course, there has to be a place where people provide liquidity for Babel boxes. So that's something we're looking into. And obviously, We are just 3 guys working in our spare time. So we have been talking about the ways of getting the project funded. And a lot of people have been talking about when token. And we thought about, firstly, we got a community grant from the Goodwill, which was very generous and has helped us get as far as we have now. But we have talked about raising money. And we've talked to the people from ErgoPad in terms of doing an IDO, and we thought that was very cool. It sounded very promising. Although doing an IDO, back when we were talking about it, like on the verge of a bear market, it's like, this is pretty scary. And then we thought about, since we're all about the miners and things are like by miners for miners, we were talking about doing like a FIMO, fair initial miner offering, where by using a smart pool get block, miners could exchange a certain amount of their rewards and get distributed tokens at a very advantageous price. So basically the ISPO concept from Cardano, but implemented in proof of work. And that's something that we're looking at. So launching a token, and obviously the token can be used for governance and interacting with the protocol that we've made and stuff like that.
That's awesome. So obviously the question, after saying that everybody's going to come to you with is when.
Yeah, when is actually a good question. We've been spending a lot of time writing our white paper, and one of the things about FIMOs, and I'm trying to put together an article on the concept of doing a FIMO, because if it's, I used to work in tech and with virtual reality and physical therapy, and one of the things that I hated and I swore that I would never get back to is that I never want to be a front runner. I hate being the first person to do stuff because there's no one's homework you can copy. So when thinking about doing a FIMO, like you're back to square one. Like nobody has done this before. What are the assumptions that you need to, like, how do you do a FIMO? Nobody knows. And we're basically waiting for some technical things to fall in place from GetBlock, but also to have our assumptions for how to do it properly. Because if you do a FIMO, for example, how many percentages are people willing to give up to get access to this token? Yeah. Should they be rewarded 1-to-1, like in Ergo and GuapSwap tokens, or should you give it, some extra percentages? How much should the max supply be? When does the FIMO end? When should miners be able to sell their tokens? Should miners have a vesting schedule? How should the vesting schedule be for us? There are like a million assumptions that and we have a very well-rounded, I think, advisory board, people from the community, from ErgoPad and GetBlock, and they're like, yeah, I mean, we don't know, like nobody knows. So soon, TM, I think is the answer. We give updates as often as we can, and obviously we talked about a little before the show started, like this is probably not the best time to do a FIMO and like take minus rewards, because at the moment people who are mining Ergo are definitely mining at a loss until the difficulty comes down again.
Yeah, it's true. It's a rough environment, post ETH. Anything you'd like to discuss about that?
I mean, I think what surprised me is that how like the first week post merge was interesting to follow all the hash rate surfing around, and still watching it settle. Like a lot of it has settled on Casper, Flux, and of course Ethereum Classic. And there's this new coin called Radiant or something. I don't really know. But it's interesting to follow. And obviously we had this huge farm or whatever it was, like 200 terahash or something that moved onto the Ergo network and just spiked the difficulty. And then when the difficulty adjusted, they left, basically bringing on like it's basically like they placed a difficulty bomb on the Ergo blockchain, and it's like, yeah, we'll leave you guys to mine it down because we got our rewards, and we, you know, thanks for all the fish. And then they left, right? Yeah. But what I think is interesting is seeing the however much flack the devs are getting for, oh, they didn't handle it in time, or they're slow to. And I'll be honest, you know, I've brought this up multiple times in the development chat, and been posting pictures of these farms moving on and off, and gaming the difficulty adjustment. And the more I started to understand the assumptions behind the current difficulty adjustment, the more I started to understand the assumptions behind it. And I think it's good to see that the Ergo devs, I think that people should understand that this is a decentralized project, right? There are no devs. You can't just, hey, devs, fix this. There is a problem. It has to be, there has to be like a proposal, and people have to vote on it. We are lucky that the devs are so fast to react and so fast to implement things. That's just a blessing. But I think for many, I hope it's a learning experience in understanding that this is a decentralized environment, and you can't just crybaby your way to change it. It has to go through the proper channels, and that might be too slow for some people, but it underscores the importance of decentralization, because like we're all seeing the mess that ETH was, right? Like, oh, they heard to proof of stake, and now you see like people being slashed left and right, and exploits in the MEV bots, and it's a mess. Yeah. And part of it is the centralized actors who are the devs in it. And I'm happy to see that the Ergo devs are slow to decide but quick to act. And yes, the next week of 10-minute block times, they're going to be painful. But we're going to have a difficulty adjustment then. And then hopefully very soon, the EIP 37 will pass, and we'll have a difficulty adjustment that's 8 times as fast, which I think will smooth things out and be good. And I think we can get back to normal. I think there are a lot of people who like, I wouldn't say it's bad for the rep of Ergo, but it's like some people are crying, oh, it's a dead chain. It's a dead chain. And I thought a lot about it recently, when a few days ago there was this big Twitter drama with the people from Ravencoin, and they were like, oh, all the tokens are in a smart contract, so they're saying it's not pre-mined, but it's actually pre-mined. And it's like, there are all these things, which I thought was interesting. But one good thing that came out of it is that a lot of people actually got into reading the white paper, and people started to get a bigger understanding of what this project is, and like all the technical stuff that Ergo has is amazing. And I think going forward, I think Ergo has a future kind of like Cardano, right? Cardano for the longest while, it's like, oh, it's a ghost chain and there are no dApps and it doesn't work and it's not decentralized. But actually, when you take the time to look at it, it's very sophisticated. It's highly decentralized, and it's to me, seeing it, and I'm not a smart guy, but I see it as the best implementation of proof of stake. And I think the future for Ergo is basically that, but with proof of work. Like, there are so many technical implementations and so much like high-tech stuff going on on the Ergo blockchain that it'll take a while for people to understand, and maybe they'll never understand. But then again, when you look at Cardano, it's like it's a top 10 market cap crypto. The numbers kind of speak for themselves, and I hope for the future that even though people will cry about Ergo, I hope that obviously I'm very biased. I'm very heavily invested in the like the Ergo ecosystem because I'm building on it. But I hope that's the future. I don't mind if people call it a ghost chain, or if the coins are pre-minted, because it's just lack of understanding. And
well, that was the whole thing. They didn't really understand the difference between pre-minted and pre-mined. Pre-minted and pre-mined are two different things. And yeah, as you said, was really good because Alex chimed in and he gave a
he was a savage.
Yeah, pretty savage, but just dead on rebuttal. It was great to see him just kind of come out and just swinging, put the smack down on the FUD. It was really good. And yeah, you're absolutely correct. People got to read the white paper. I mean, of course, yeah. And then, of course, the Raven people, some of them still just kept on fudding and fudding and fudding. But at a certain point, you just have to kind of let the audience decide, who is on the level and who's full of shit. And that's the bottom line. And I completely agree with you that just kind of feeling, the energy that Ergo has around it. I can tell you, being that I basically was there with Cardano since the launch of the protocol, even before the launch of the protocol, since the conception of the protocol, I can tell you that the energy is really close. And I know that some community members are kind of trying to find individuality and saying that, oh, we shouldn't be Cardano's little brother, but you're not. Definitely. I mean, it's not about who is on, who is whose brother and who is the senpai, who's a kohai. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that Japanese thing. But for those who are, it's not that kind of thing. What it is basically, are you in that same group? Because let's face it, Cardano is a top blockchain, with all the FUD, all the bullshit that's been thrown at Cardano over the years, all the lies. As you said, it speaks for itself. It's a very sophisticated chain. It's a very highly researched chain. It is highly decentralized chain. And that is the fundamentals that Ergo has. It's pretty much the same fundamentals, but with proof of work, which is the other side. And I believe that Ergo is the best implementation of proof of work out there right now, and is getting better. And what you also said really speaks close to what I deal with on a daily basis, is dealing with the community. And even with the Cardano community, you do have, it's a highly decentralized community, but you do have large main actors, right? So you have the Cardano Foundation, you have Emergo, you have IOG, now you have these other companies springing up like DC Spark, IMX. I'm just, all these different companies that are basically is the same thing that's going to happen to Ergo. As the ecosystem grows, there's going to be independent companies springing up and growing within the ecosystem. But with Ergo and Joe, me and Joe, we do stuff behind the scenes every day. And every day, I'll come to Joe and I'll say, "Hey, Joe, there's this opportunity. Who do we talk to?" And Joe says, "Okay, well, I'm going to have to talk to the community. I'm going to have to talk to the Ergo Foundation, and then we're all going to have to come to a consensus. And it's going to take some time because, all this tech is out in the wild. All the Ergo is out in the wild. There's no one giant silo anywhere of like what you said, like techs that are just sitting there. Can the techs, can the devs do something? Well, they could, but which devs are we talking about? I mean, we have devs, but it's just not like one giant room of devs somewhere that's fixing Ergo stuff. So tell us a little bit more about mining. So as a miner in the Ergo ecosystem, be honest, what are your, what's great about mining Ergo? And again, this is something that's really good for new people joining the ecosystem, because we do have people out there that wanted to get into mining. They're not professional miners, right? They're looking to get into mining. They heard about Ergo. They heard that it's a great chain. They heard that the mining in here is, really not a lot of heavy lifting. It's not very resource intensive. They want to do it, right? Well, since you're so experienced in the field, why don't you give us a little bit of your perspective? What is good about it? What is great about it? What is not so good about it? What is shitty about it? I mean, be honest with us, because we'd like people to know everything so that the expectation is set straight.
Well, I think the first and obvious thing that's good about it is the less power consumption. Like it runs about, by my estimations, like depending on how you tweak your cards, between 10 to 20% more efficient than ETH does. And because it runs so much more efficiently, you can run the fan speeds slower, which means less maintenance on fans, less wear on the cards. And basically, one of the things that you're constantly worried about, well, I don't know, I can only speak to myself, but I remember when I was mining ETH, I was like checking the miners sometimes like once every 10 minutes. And every time a miner would go down, I say, "Oh, panic." Like I have these I have this almost PTSD like symptoms every time I see a miner go down. It's like, oh, what's wrong now? I have to go there and I have to fix and figure out and unplug things. Was it the power supply, it's the riser, the new RAMs, the CPU, whatever. And when mining Ergo, it's been like not completely fire and forget, but like I can go sometimes for several weeks without any issue. And now obviously it's like the first rule of mining is don't talk about your rigs running, because I'm almost certain that one of the rigs will be down when I check after this. But it's like it's very easy on the cards. And I think what's good about that, and one of the innovations that I hope to see very soon, that's actually coming up, I saw BZ Miner has done it, is that because it runs on the memory and it's very energy efficient, it's like a great thing for dual mining. So dual mining means that you can mine 2 coins on the same card. So you take a memory intensive coin like Ergo, and then something that's core intensive like Alephium or Casper, and you can dual mine it at the same time. And I can't promise you that it's going to be the same power consumption as ETH. You'll probably be running a little more power, but that's, I mean, great utilization of your cards. It's very easy to set up. We have the smart pools, like GetBlock is doing groundbreaking work in terms of mining and what mining pools will be like in the future. Like In terms of transparency and just the tech that they are deploying, we will probably be working with GetBlock in the future. And Rob and Cheese and all the people from GetBlock are fantastic. So like the mining pool space on Ergo is great. Like there's only one smart pool as I know it, and that's GetBlock at the moment. But I think it's going to be the standard in the future. So that's great. What's not so great about Ergo? The difficulty adjustment at the moment. Like I said, we're in an artificial ice age because some farm somewhere. And I think I actually posted the 2 pools where the hash rate came online. No, wait, that was recently. What a big farm that's left or that left. Like the difficulty adjustment right now, the rest of the market is unprofitable because of spiking energy prices, but Ergo is especially unprofitable right now because we have to wait for the difficulty to come down. And obviously, like once that comes down, there will be maybe 6 months to a year, maybe it's going to be 2 years while Ergo is unprofitable. This is a bear cycle. If you trust the 4-year cycle theory of crypto, which has kind of been spot on for the past, I don't know, 8-12 years or so. Is this the 3rd cycle? I think it's the 3rd cycle.
Number 3.
Bitcoin doesn't have until sometime in 2024. So like we are probably in for a year, 2 years maybe of unprofitability. So but that's not anything that Ergo can do anything about, right? These are just the results of some guy in the East who wants to wage war and are closing off the gas lines and supply squeezes and whatever. There's nothing that us average people can do about that. So I think there's a lot of upsides. It's perfect for dual mining, cutting edge tech in terms of mining pools. It's easy to set up in Hive OS or Simple Mining OS or whatever. It's like any other coin, but very efficient. And then I think that rant is over.
You know, my favorite idea that's come out of this difficulty issue actually was dropped by Cheese and a member of your team. In terms of how we can use smart pools to reward loyalty, right? Because that's ultimately what the diff adjustment balance issue is about. Is, you know, if somebody comes in and they try to game it, they leave loyal miners with the problem, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so I, was looking at the conversation in terms of how you could either use layer 2s or smart pools to create incentives for the longer someone mines, they kind of like level up or get a higher reward, or, some mechanism like that, I think is huge. Like that
yeah.
is one of those things that, you look so far in the future, you trip.
Yeah. And that's what I think also one of the things that I think people have yet to understand about Ergo is that people look at other blockchains and it's like, oh, the devs made this killer app or whatever. And it's like, oh, it's going to be the new, like the hottest thing since sliced toast. Is like, oh, they implemented this scaling solution or whatever. And what people don't understand is that Ergo, like Kushti and the other devs, they are just, and you say this all the time, Joe, and it took me a while to understand. And I'll admit at one point I got kind of tired of it, that you said like, oh, well, on Ergo, we're making tooling. And I was like, tooling. Yeah. When number go up, that's what I wanted. And I think that when Kushti said like, take as much control of Ergo as you want, it takes a while. It takes a while for people to understand what that actually means. Once people see the opportunities that are there, like the people at GetBlock or the people at Sky Harbor, like oh, that's a great infrastructure where we can make like cutting edge implementation of NFT auction houses, or we can do all this. Like there's this it's so expressive Ergo script that when you make a smart pool, you can reward people that have submitted however many number of shares, like, and it's still being decentralized and open source, and not just someone in a spreadsheet pressing a button at that guy and that guy. And oh, by the way, I know that guy's cousin, so he gets a kickback because yeah. And I think that's cool, but it's gonna take a while for people to pick up the tools. And basically what we did, if you ask LGD, our developer, he'll be like, yeah, GuapSwap is very simple. He's almost like, he's like, it's too simple. Like there's nothing groundbreaking about what we did. But for me, as a person who uses it, it's like, it's the greatest tool since sliced bread, right? And I think that we're waiting for more people to get onboarded in the development ecosystem, for people to see like, oh, that you can do this. I saw Hazy One Kenobi talk about making a smart contract that buys or like interacts with the Sigma USD contract when the thing between Sigma USD and Sigma RSV reach a certain level, so he can get like optimal arbitrage. And that's just, the more people understand about the ecosystem, the more innovations we will get. And I think that's one of the most exciting things about being here, that there are so many things that we don't know that will crop up over time. And that's basically why I stay. Like with there's been so many things in my life, and I just turned 39, and still there have been so many things in my life where I thought, oh man, I wish, for example, back in 2017, I was like, this ETH thing sounds like a good idea. It was like $150. I should invest some money in this. And then I said, it's probably all going to zero. And so many things in my life where I didn't board the train when it was just leaving the platform, right? And I feel like with all I know now, and like I said, I'm not a smart person, I just think like, of all the blockchains out there, of all the tech that's out there, it's like Ergo is the one that I'm like, I want to give this thing a shot because it looks very, very promising. And thinking of that, we're only a couple of years in, like in 5 or 10 years, where will we be, right? And that's exciting.
It seems like the biggest catalyst for you guys is Babel fees and bridges.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I forgot about bridges. Like we've been in close contact with the guys at Spectrum, formerly known as ErgoDex. And basically, thank you for saying that, Joe, because that's probably the most exciting prospect about GuapSwap for me as a miner, and I hope for miners all over, that as GuapSwap works by interacting directly with the DEX. And once the bridge opens to Cardano, for example, obviously because Cardano has, or like Spectrum has not released any documentation on how cross-chain swaps will work, but basically we should be able to interact with Spectrum. So your miner payout can be on any chain that's connected to Spectrum. So the first one will basically be mine Ergo, get paid in ADA. And if it opens to Solana, or obviously I'm not too fond of Solana, but if it opens to Bitcoin, mine Erg, get paid in Bitcoin, and like get it at market price. You don't have to go through a centralized exchange or anything. That's what excites me, because like that's the end game. Like when you see a dApp like Unmineable, like you can get paid out in 30 tokens, 50 tokens. Like, and I want that for Ergo. but I don't want to. I don't want to feel like I'm scammed every time I get a payout. I don't want to pay that heavy toll. I want the things at market price. And if I can mine Erg and get paid in ADA, like that's the end game.
Yeah, and then you could add the complexity. You know, if you have a competitor to Spectrum, which I hope we see soon, you know, then you also have the potential of like multi-market, where you're going to pull your price free feeds from, and you know, it actually like moves you in the direction similar to, I don't know, you could say web or arbitrage, or you know, just better access to more markets.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's quite interesting to see how that develops.
Yeah, like I'm constantly bugging the people. I'm constantly in the Spectrum general chat and harassing them, like when crossbridge. Like I want it to happen, because that's gonna be the killer feature for us, I think, or I believe.
Yeah, and I think that I mean, to an extent, you are right. That there is some, I guess, leaning towards POS for obvious reasons in the Cardano ecosystem. But I think that there's actually a good, a good sized community inside the Cardano community that is actually, and you know this for a fact, that is very pro Ergo, and they understand that proof of work, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it's either a threat or an inferior system to proof of stake. And I keep saying this over and over and over again, where I basically explain to people is just two different ways to achieve an end result, right? Each one of them has their own use case and their own world that they can build, and the two are very synergetic. You know, it's not about proof of work. It's not about, oh well, it's an obsolete way of doing things. There are things that make proof of work that needed to be adjusted, just like with proof of stake. You know, for example, what Ergo did with mining overhead, you know, and power overhead and resourcing, things like that is needed for mining. I mean, these things need adjusting, and they need fixing, and they need upgrading, and that's what Ergo did. But the actual concept of proof of work is not obsolete in any way. And I think that there are many in the Cardano ecosystem that understand this, and those that don't, I think, just need to you know, just kind of read up on it and see what it's all about. And to touch back on your point about you know, there not being a central entity, like I was saying, yeah, this is the beauty of Ergo, right? It's basically, it's yours, right? As you said, Alex said, take as much control of the network as possible, as you want. And there lies the essence of Ergo. You know, if you want the numbers to go up, do it. You do it. You know, you put together something that will make the numbers go up. You put together an enterprise, a project on Ergo that will create real world use cases that will bring more more users in. Users equal usage of the network. Usage of the network equals value equals numbers going up. And I think that is very important for many newcomers to the ecosystem to understand. Mining is great, okay? Mining is very important, but there's another way to make the numbers go up, and that is be an entrepreneur. Use the network to your advantage, use the tooling to your advantage, and be an entrepreneur and build your own use cases on Ergo that can attract more users, can attract more volume, which will keep moving us up in the direction that we're supposed to be going.
I think that's cool and all, but I also think that maybe people are a little bit apathetic because, I don't know, maybe because the world is how it is today, that they feel like that one person can't make a change. Because obviously decentralization has I wouldn't say like an air of bureaucracy in it, but it's like, it is like, there is an advantage to centralization, right? You have a centralized actor. They can just say, oh, you want a difficulty adjustment? We'll do it. It's already deployed on mainnet. We don't have to wait for anyone else to like make a choice, right? And for people to learn that their voice can still be heard, but the process is, it's slow. It's like not like the moving of a glacier. But it's like, there is a process to it that takes time, but it is, I feel like that's also one of the things we're seeing today, maybe that one of the drawbacks of democracy, not that I'm in favor of like dictatorships or empires or whatever, but the drawback of democracy is that we need to hear everyone, and that takes time, and that makes implementation and making things a bit slower than just having like a strong man decide what's best for you, right? And I do think if people can learn today how important that is, because it's becoming increasingly important in these heated geopolitical times, that people should respect the democratic process and refrain from just turning over their votes or their thoughts or their actions to some centralized leader, because we can see what what the results are right now, right? It's not pretty.
No, it's that's the hardest thing with governance. It's not only like hearing everybody, it's actually listening, right?
Yeah,
and that's hard, like looking back, to some degree, I wish more miners would have been more vocal. There were some that were, right? And it was something that, like with the diff adjustment, it wasn't like a secret. It was just like, okay, we have a potential issue there, right? And is it worth implementing and hard forking when it seems to be kind of a minor disturbance, right? And so there's some balance between like, okay, how loud do you speak? How hard is it to listen and be heard? That's always a challenge in decentralized ecosystems. Hopefully, if you want to get to 90%, which is our threshold, that takes a lot of consensus, right? If I don't know how things are in everybody else's country, but where I am, if the threshold was 90%, nothing would get done.
If things get to 90%, usually, it's hard not to get political, but usually when in my country, when we see elections in some country where it is like, oh, this person won with a 90% supermajority, you think like, okay, that was definitely rigged, because nobody wins by 90%, right? But the first EIP 27, it passed with a 90% supermajority, which was cool, with the whole re-emissions. And I think, I don't want to jinx it, obviously, but I see it as in everybody's favor to vote for this next thing. I really hope that people will vote for EIP 37, because we need that difficulty adjustment algorithm to work better, and it's going to be better for everyone.
Yeah, I have to be neutral because I'm with the EF, but what I recommend everybody do out there is simply collect data, talk and hear each other and listen, which goes back to the please pretend to be nice, which never actually works in the social skills, but I try.
And remember to go to the pool that votes the way that you want. Exactly. Like don't just stay at the largest pool if it doesn't vote the way that you want. Like, do your own research.
Yeah.
Which is such a cliche in crypto. this time, right?
Yeah, well, what are you gonna do? It's a growing ecosystem. It's a growing ecosystem. We
Yeah,
have to
for
give it a
sure.
break once in a while and let it make its own mistakes and learn from its own wounds.
Yeah,
Well,
for
Jasper,
sure.
listen, it was a pleasure to have you. You know, it was great to have you on the show. I mean, an infamous community member such as you. It's and then thank you very much for sharing about GuapSwap, for sharing about IS well, IPO through mining pools.
Primo.
Yeah, FIMO, which is in Cardano talk is ISPO.
Yes.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back on the show. Thank you very much. We will be checking out GuapSwap. We're looking forward to seeing that GUI come about.
Check the links
Babel
in the
fees as
description.
well. Yeah, Babel fees as well. Babel fees are a big thing. Yeah, really excited about that because it really kind of gives the ecosystem so much more robustness if you're able to utilize it, Babel fees, because you don't have to middleman through the native currency, right? Or the native crypto. Just Babel fee the thing, do your business. So again, really looking forward to that. And thank you very much for coming on, and we'll hope to see you soon.
No worries, man. See you guys.
It was a pleasure.